everybody. Hello. Welcome to track 2 upstairs. I am Marak Squires, and I'm here to give a talk on how to be an open source gangster. First off, I'm the chief evangelist at Nojitsu. This is a Node.js hosting and training company. And for the purpose of this talk, I will be the open source gangster. So let's get started. First, wait, isn't a gangster a criminal? Am I going to stand up here and advocate crime? Well, the short answer is no. This is a talk about gangster rap idioms versus open source workflow. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the metaphor. So let's get started. First, you're trying to make something out of nothing, starting from scratch. In open source, everyone starts at the same place. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone starts with one line of code. Everyone starts with no knowledge. Everyone starts from scratch. You're making something out of nothing. You gotta respect the game. You're not the first, you're not the best, and you're not gonna be the last. You're only a player in the game. The sooner you can recognize this and get perspective, the sooner you can advance. People have come before you, people have come after you. You gotta listen to the OGs, the original gangsters. You have to find mentors. You have to ask questions. You have to ask questions to those with more experience, but you need to keep an open mind. You need to have a bi-directional communication with these mentors because they have experience that you don't have, and they're gonna be able to tell you things and help you along the way. But at the same time, you need to have an open mind to know that they're old gangsters. There's some things that they just haven't done. There's new things that you can improve on. So you just need to keep an open mind knowing that your mentors will be able to give you information that you might not know, but at the same time, it might not necessarily be correct. You gotta keep your ears to the street. You need to follow other developers. Follow projects, stay informed. I think one of the biggest mistakes I see is somebody might toil away at something for 2 or 3 months and make it really awesome and then say, oh, this is the coolest project ever. And it's like, well, no, it's been built 5 other times. And you know, one of those initiatives has like a $500,000 behind it. And like, you also solved the wrong problem. You need to have perspective. You need to be able to see what's out there. You need to research. You can't just say, I'm gonna make something and it's gonna be the coolest thing ever. It doesn't work like that. You gotta stay on your grind. Persistence, tenacity, follow through. You just have to keep going. If you fail, you need to try again. If you fail, you need to try again. If you fail again, you need to try again. If you get it right, you're wrong. You gotta do it again. It's just like, if you hit a wall, you break it down. Every day I'm hustling. You got to treat your product as code. You got to treat your code as product. You got to slang your code. It represents you. It's what you're putting out there. People don't care about anything else but the quality of the code. Does it work or does it not work? Is it easy to use? Is it not easy to use? Your code represents you, and you got to slang it. You got to put it out there. The first one is always free. You got to go free open source. You got to put it out there. You have to put an MIT license, a BSD, whatever you want. The point is that people are going to be able to see your work and see your code. And if they like it, they're going to pay you to do something else because they know you can do it and you've already proved it to them. So I'm saying you give them the first one and then they get hooked. You got to only deal with the pure stuff. You got to write flawless projects, code conventions, unit tests, documentation, Git tags, Git workflow. If you don't have these, you have nothing. Process, process, process. You gotta write good code and you have to write it consistently. If you don't, you're a joke. No one's gonna wanna use your projects. They're not gonna work. They're gonna have bad documentation. The unit tests are gonna be non-existent. You gotta write flawless projects. A strong word called consignment, strictly for live men and not for freshmen. Not everybody got the hookup for that pure product. Not everybody got the hookup, you know what I'm saying? You don't got the connection, you contribute to other products. Other projects, still be gangster. The point is that not everyone can say on their first day, you know, I'm gonna write the best project ever, and I'm gonna write flawless code, and my method is unstoppable, and my unit test could cause an earthquake, who knows? And it's like, you need to find someone else's project, and you need to be able to contribute to it, and you need to be able to kind of learn what they're doing and get into it. Still be gangster. You got to get users hooked. You make your projects easy to use. You make the APIs accessible. You solve the right problems. If you make your products easy to use, people want to come back. They got that good project. They got that good product. They want it. It's easy. They're used to it. It ain't hard to find me. You have to be accessible. This is something I see all the time. People will put something really good out there, and like someone will ask a really basic question that's pretty reasonable, and like you won't see a response for weeks. If you're going to be slanging your product, and you're going to be putting your project out there, and you're going to be putting your code out there, you need to be accessible. People are going to have questions. You need to be able to listen to their input. You need to be able to take their input and regurgitate it and put it back into your project. You got to treat your clientele well, because they will come back for more product. You got to provide good support. Being available is good. You can say, oh, hey, I got your message, but you really need to help. If someone has a problem, like you might think that they opened up a bad pull request, or maybe they opened up a stupid issue, or maybe, oh, they didn't read my documentation. That's a reflection on your project, not on the person. If you haven't made something easy enough and you're not able to provide good enough support, you have a problem. You need to fix that. You need to be proactive. You need to treat your users well. If people are using your project, it's your prerogative to help them. If you don't, your project's nothing. You got to slang your product. Evangelizing your code. This is something I see all the time. Brilliant people write these beautiful projects. They put them up on GitHub, and they don't tell anybody, and they just sit there. And maybe you'll like stumble upon it, or maybe you'll find some random person who has 10 of the best projects ever, but nobody knows about it. You need to put your code out there. You need to be able to tell people how to find it. You need to be able to evangelize it. But unfortunately, when you start putting your stuff out there, haters gonna hate. Yeah. You got to ignore distractions. People are haters. I'm a hater. You're a hater. Everyone's a hater. It's just life. Some people are going to give you criticisms that are useful. Some people are going to give you criticisms that are pointless. You need to be able to just ignore the distractions. If there's good information coming in, you need to filter it out. But for the most part, if someone's hating, and when you're evangelizing, just ignore them. You got to keep it gangster. Now, how do you keep it gangster? You slay your enemies through GitHub. We accept pull requests. We accept pull requests. If there's a problem with my project and you tell me about it, I'm going to fix it. And if I don't know how to fix it, I'm going to be like, what's going on? Give me a pull request. I will accept it. It's about quality. It's about improving. It's about moving forward. If someone is hating on your project and they're being a hater, you got to keep it gangster, and you got to slang them, and you got to slay them through GitHub. You put the good code on there, and you get pull requests. Real recognize real. Recruitment. If you follow all these steps, you have the workflow, you have your projects out there, you have good projects, you're providing good support, other people are going to recognize this. Real recognize real. They'll see through the bullshit. They'll understand that you're doing something, that you have a good project, and they'll kind of come together. And now you're going to have a whole bunch of developers all following the same mentality, working on these great projects, providing great support, taking in as much input as they can to just improve quality. And then once this happens, now you got a bunch of developers with you. You got to put the hood on your back. What does that mean? Community building. You need to reach out. You need to do meetups. You need to go to conferences. You need to post to mailing lists. You need to do demonstrations. You need to do blog posts. You need to post it to these social bookmarking sites, which I will not name. And the point is that you're not just evangelizing for yourself anymore. You're evangelizing for your users. The people using your projects and using your product now need to have the community built up around them so that they're not alone, so that you get seeds growing everywhere of these great codes and these great projects. And then finally, you got to put the crew on the payroll. And this is building an open source company. So at Nodejitsu, I would estimate 80 to 85% of our code base is open source and on GitHub right now. We're a Node.js hosting company. It's a very competitive field, and it's a difficult decision to do this, but it's the right decision because the quality code will stand out. And finally, you got to keep it real. Now, I can't really tell you how to keep it real. It's not really something that you learn, it's just something that you do. So I'm going to try to do the realest thing I can, which is just release a project live right now. And it's not just any project, it's a pretty disruptive one. So to give a little background, in JSConf 2010, I announced the Hook.io project. Hook.io is a full-featured I/O framework for Node.js. Since the release, it's got over 700 watchers on GitHub. There's over 18 hooks for the application hosted here. There's probably another 15 floating around. There's 10 active contributors. It's a big project. To give a little idea of how it works, we can look at this blog post made by Per. There he is, thank you. So just to give you a quick idea of what Hook.io is, Hook.io is a way of distributing your I/O in an application. In a traditional application, you might have your web, your logging, your IRC, your email. All this logic is coupled together in the same process. This is bad. It's not so smart. If you have a problem in one of these pieces, it's going to take the whole app stack down. Hook.io allows you to distribute this among multiple processes. This is really cool. But what I came to realize is that people build web applications, and they want real-time web applications. So we'll go here. So what I've got is hook.js. This is Hook.io brought to the browser. So real quickly, we'll just do this. Make it public. Boom. So now this is live on GitHub. I don't know if you've noticed, it's been a very great conference. Great parties, very late parties. So yes, hook.js. So okay, what exactly did I just release? Oh yeah, okay. Brought Hook.io to the browser, excellent. So it's great that we have all these distributed events, but now what we have is the ability to actually do this in a web browser. So let's just get it started and do a live demo. So first, I will start up. See if we can see this. Cool. Oh, that's the rainbow REPL. You can't see it yet. OK, so we're going to start up our top-level hook. And this is going to be the master hook at the top of the stack, which will be the REPL. And we're just going to do this so that we can kind of look at the messages as they come through. And then in addition to that, we're going to start hook.js. We'll go to our browser window and load up the interface for hook.js. It's very basic. We just did this in the past few days. So the way that this works is now you have this magic variable called hook. Well, I'll back it up a step. You require hook.js in any page. This file can be local or it could be remotely hosted. And then you have access to the hook object. The hook object allows you to have this distributed event emitter where you can just emit events on the browser, and on the server, you can get them. In addition to this, you can emit the opposite way, and you can also do a callback API. So from the browser, you can emit an event with a callback. On the server, it will accept the event, and then it will process it. So if we call hook.emit in the browser, it'll output sup, since the server responds back. So we can actually do a live demo of this right now. So we've got this one open here, and we'll open up this one here. Cool. So just to give you an idea, in Firefox, we're going to do hook.on, browser sup, and we'll do that binding. And then over here, we'll do hook.emit supdog. So this is going to emit the sup event with the data dog. We'll hit that. And then if we go back to the other browser session, oh, did I not run that? Oh, awesome. Oh, there it is. Cool. I thought it didn't work. So as you can see, the message has gone through. Now, this is a pretty trivial example. We're just doing basic message passing between browsers. But what the important thing to understand here is Hook.io is a full-featured event framework, I/O framework, rather, for Node. So we have a whole series of these hooks that have independent functionality for things like simple as making a HTTP request and as complicated as consuming the data from the Bitcoin exchange, MTGOX. We have 18 or so officially sponsored and probably another 15 floating around. So being able to do this distributed event emitter across the browser is kind of cool. You know, we have dnode, which is this is built on, but you need to take it a step farther, because when you send these events, like, what are you really doing? At the end of the day, you're probably going to be delegating it back, and you're probably going to be saying, oh, well, I'm going to say, so the send email event, and then somewhere in your controller logic, you're probably going to parse that out. And Hook.io just makes this way simpler. So to give an example, we could actually, I'm not going to try to connect to the IRC here, but just to show you on the REPL, we could capture any of these events. So as we've been firing these events, the REPL has been running, and it's just keeping a log of everything that goes through. So it would be trivial for us to just catch any event and to re-emit it into the Hook.io cloud. In addition to just having this distributed event emitter thing in the browser now, it's actually doing a bunch of stuff. This is, I don't know if it's coming across well or not, but this is very disruptive. This is providing a pub sub that anyone can just deploy anywhere anonymously and then just connect to it. If I provide a unique hash up here, that's going to subscribe it now to this channel. And the only way to enumerate the events from there is if you know the name. And this is all open source. You can deploy this right now. I just released it. In addition to just having this pub sub that anyone can subscribe to, it also launches up 2 other hooks, one of which is the webhook, which is on port 9001. What this allows, here we go, is for you to post arbitrary HTTP requests, such as a JSON RPC. So you have this endpoint that's not WebSocket based and not Socket.io based. So if you need someone to broadcast a message into your Hook.io cloud, or into your hook.js rather, they can just hit it with a HTTP request here, and then it'll pipe through. And in addition to that, it also spawns up a feed. So if you're not using a WebSocket interface and you want to subscribe to the events from this hook, you can also listen to the feed. So the idea with this is that you could essentially just deploy this little pub sub on Nodejitsu or a similar hosting company, and then you could just start subscribing to messages and just pumping stuff back and forth. And that you're hooked into Hook.io, so you have full access to the entire hook library. So this is kind of like, I consider this the next step in distributed RPCs and the next step in pub sub. And I think a lot of people are going to be really worried about this. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. So the first question is, how does it scale? Yes. What was the second question? What is the what? The protocol? So it actually, right now, the idea is to become an enterprise service bus. So the current protocol is dnode protocol. So if we go to Substack, dnode protocol. So it's just it's a JSON RPC. So if you're familiar with dnode, dnode is a way to communicate between nodes and between browser and node in Node.js. And it also gives you a really neat way of calling RMI, doing remote method invocation without serializing the function. So to give you an idea, it kind of looks like this. But what's interesting is that we're working on making it multi-transport and making it not coupled to dnode. So we already have the CouchDB transport in place. So you can actually use CouchDB as the message bus instead of using node. And we're like, yeah, so right now it's dnode protocol. Yes, it scales. I mean, if you're going to ask an open-ended question, there's only so much I can say. Like, what do you mean? Say again? Multiple instances of the... Oh, so I mean, it's still an open-ended question. Like, which piece do you need to scale? What part of the I/O is important to you? Are you talking about concurrent requests to your web server? Are you talking about making a spider that's spidering 1,000 different sites? Are you talking about something that has a lot of database access? Are you talking about something that's communicating with 10 different web services? Like, there's no magic bullet to scaling. Hook.io provides you a framework for being able to implement all these different load balancing strategies. So it's not really, I'm not tying you into anything. It's very open right now. And before we release, we're in the 0.7x branch right now. And before we release 1.0, we're going to include a bunch of load balancing strategies, most available around Robin, et cetera, et cetera. Scaling is no magic bullet. Anybody else? Yes?
Do you have an example of a service you built on top of Hokkaido?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I could check one right now, maybe? Yeah, why not? Maybe it won't load. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit to load. So we've built a few things on it. This is Station. This is a third-party monitoring service for Node-Jitsu. So the way that this works is that internally we have a lot of, we have agents on every machine, similar to Nagios. So we have them reporting to our central server, and internally we're tracking a lot of stuff. Now this is cool, but I don't trust anybody's code but my own. So this is a redundant monitoring system. So what this is doing is this is a combination of 7 different Hook.io hooks, including the hook.js, which you've just seen, which is the web server. It's using Twilio. It's using request, it's using cron, it's using webhook. So if a site goes down, it's going to flash offline, and then everyone on the team is going to get an SMS, everyone on the team is going to get an email. Yes, this is one example application. And that latency seems a little off. Cool, thank you.